All right, so this is it. This is what it looks like to start a mix, huh? You just have no plugins, just audio files, no panning, no volumes set or anything. What's up, y'all? My name is Adam Sliger, and I've been a songwriter and a producer for a very long time. But there is one skill set that I have been neglecting for pretty much my entire career, and you probably guessed it by now, it's mixing. Now, mixing is a super important part of having a professional, polished sounding song, and that is exactly why I have pretty much always hired someone else to do it. But the time is now. It is time for me to face my fears, stop being lazy, and just learn how to mix for real. To me, the best way to learn is to turn it into a challenge. And so I'm challenging myself with the hardest thing I could think of, which is learning how to mix in exactly 1 week. So my buddy Charlie was kind enough to send me the sessions for his band's album. I'm gonna take one of those songs and I'm gonna mix it on day 1, just using what's already up here and just making a mix that I think sounds good. Then I'm gonna spend the next week learning every single thing that I can about mixing, so that hopefully on the last day, when I start over with a brand new empty session, that mix sounds much better. So come with me as we try to answer the question, can you learn how to mix in 1 week? So I guess the first thing I'm gonna do for this mix is just listen through and just do panning and set baseline levels for everything. You know, this being my first like real mix, I'm not sure if that's a good way to start, so let's go for it. Okay, I'm not mad at that. The multi-tracks sound great already. They did a great job recording this song, so it's not gonna be super hard, but I hope that's not famous last word. So I spent day 1 making my first real mix. I wanted to limit myself to around 6 to 8 hours to work on this mix. I figured it makes sense to start out with drums, get those sounding nice, and then add in each layer until I got to vocals. All right, so it's 6 o'clock. I'm 3.5 hours into this mix. I feel good about it. The only thing left to do is I'm gonna give it one more pass, play the whole song through, do some levels. I'm gonna put some glue compressor on the master, and then I'm gonna go do a car test. Hope I don't regret that. All right, if you've ever made a song before and you have a car or a homie with a car, you know what this is. We got Dropbox pulled up. It's time for the car test. Let's give it a listen. It's really nice to listen without being able to change anything, because you can just take notes and listen through the whole thing without interrupting it to go tweak something. So that was actually super helpful. I'm gonna head back inside. So once the car test is done, I made the revisions from my notes, and then I listened through the song one more time on my AirPods, as well as through my phone speaker, made a couple little tweaks, and then it was finally time to export my first mix and send it off. So I've got a week to learn how to mix, and whenever I have a problem, I do what everyone does. I turn to Google. People smarter than me read books, so we're gonna go with the first book that Google recommends, which is the Mixing Engineer's Handbook by Bobby Owsinski. I opted for the Kindle version since waiting for the 2-day shipping would pretty much destroy any chance of this challenge going well. I also skipped the first few chapters about the history of mixing and how to set up your room, and then I got to reading until the sun went down. So far, so good. Today, I'm going to bring my book to one of my favorite coffee spots. The change of scenery can be nice. I have been taking screenshots of any passages that seem relevant to this song, and I'm highlighting them so I can come back to them later. However, I made a realization. As great as this book is so far, I need way more information, and I need it fast. You know how they say we only use 10% of our brain's power on a normal day? I need to supercharge my learning so I can access all 100%. We are going limitless, baby. So let's pack up the book, head back to the house, and start really packing in the data. My friend Austin was kind enough to send me a copy of his Producer Principles course to check out, so this is the perfect time to dig into it. I pulled up the mixing section of the course and started watching.
I think it's time that we go ahead and start the mix process. So I work pretty fluidly. I don't
Seeing his real-time decision making and getting to hear the difference when he made changes was really helpful, and I knocked out this part of the course feeling pretty good about the challenge.
Any extra production stuff, we'll do any automation, but right now I feel pretty good about the general mix.
Once that ended, it was time to start cramming more and more knowledge into my brain. So I started pulling up more YouTube videos about mixing, mix tips, mix tutorials, plugins, techniques, everything that you would ever want to know about mixing. However, after so many videos, it's all starting to blend together. All the settings, the plugins, the tips, they're starting to get overwhelming. I really can't tell what's real anymore, and my brain has hit its limit after all.
Drag this up a little bit. Hey, what's up? It's Austin here from Make Pop Music, and today we're going to show Adam how to mix. The first thing that you're going to want to do is go ahead and delete everything that you just did because it was absolute garbage. The next thing that you're going to want to do, completely uninstall your DAW and throw your computer in the trash and go get a real job.
After my failed Limitless experience, it's time to refocus on what really matters, the song. So I set up a time with Charlie to discuss his thoughts on the mix and what I could do better next time around. Yo, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Not much. How you been?
Good to see you. I've been good, dude. I've been good. It's good to see you.
Dude, it's good to see you too. Did you have a chance to check out the first mix?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I got some notes right here, and
dude, I got some notes myself. So
yeah, it's really cool to see someone take something that you did and the whole process you went through, and then see what they do to it, you know, and their take on it.
So Charlie's main notes for this song were that the drums needed more width and more punch from the room mics, and I totally agree. And also the bass and the rhythm guitar could use more separation. Now, my main problem with the mix after listening back a few times was actually with the vocal EQ and the vocal balance, but I also think that the drums and guitars could use work as well.
The wider drum sound, more of a room, we give it more of a cohesive feel.
Thanks. Well, that's super helpful because I'll definitely try to nail those on the second pass.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm excited to hear it, bro.
I don't know how much better I can get in a week, but I feel like the second one will come together a lot faster, and I'll have like a clearer picture of what I should do, you know, going into it.
I think you'll be surprised, yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time and let me even just like mix this thing.
Yeah, man, thank you.
So I've got some direction. Now I can dig into some resources that are more specific to this mix. I asked my friend Chris for some advice around vocal EQ, since his mixes always have a great vocal sound, and I did some research specific to his advice. After that, I read some more of the book until it was time for bed, and I'm leaving today feeling much better about this whole thing than I was yesterday.
So believe it or not, this video does not have any sponsors. So I'm gonna take the few seconds where I would put an ad and just ask you to hit subscribe. I am very, very close to my first ever subscriber goal of 500 subs. When I started this channel, that is what I wanted to hit, and I am this close. So if you like audio content, if you like producing, mixing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it tells YouTube that you wanna see more content like this in your feed. And if there's someone that you're watching this and thinking, man, I bet they would like that video, then please share it with them because it helps more than you know. All right, back to the content.
All right, y'all, so I was supposed to read more of that book tonight, but it's actually a nice day for the first time since I started this thing. So I'm gonna go do an outdoor activity and I'm gonna listen to a podcast about mixing and I'm gonna count it because that's educational. We're learning every single day. So let's go do something fun outside. All right, so I decided to pop over to the disc golf course, but I'm gonna listen to Your Mix Sucks podcast with Lord-Alge. The title of the episode is Mixing 20,000 Songs. I've mixed one, so this should be very educational. So I listened to this podcast from CLA while I played disc golf, and really the main things that I learned from it is that you need to trust your tools and your go-to processes. If there's anyone in the industry that I'd want to hang out with for an hour or two, it's gotta be Chris. He's such an entertaining storyteller and has such an awesome perspective on the music world. So once that episode was over, I headed back to the car, admired the sunset for a bit, and then put on another CLA interview for the ride home. All right, so today I'm keeping it a lot more simple. I've got Eric Valentine, one of my favorite producers and engineers of all time. He's worked on a ton of records that I love. He has a YouTube channel, and I have been sleeping on watching a lot of his content, which is kind of silly because he's one of my favorite guys to ever do it. So I have a lot of work to do on my computer, but I'm gonna put him right here on my iPad, and Eric is gonna teach me about mixing while I do my busy work. Eric's mixing drums video is a serious must-watch for anyone who works with acoustic drums. So I'll put links to this and everything else that I'm using in the description of this video, so you can check it all out and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two. After a few solid hours of work and watching his videos in the background, I have picked up so many awesome tips for getting better mixes, so I'm excited to put this stuff to the test in just a few days. It's the final day of my crash course in mixing, so it only makes sense to go back to where it all started, Bobby's book. I've been steadily chipping away at it when I have time, but today I'm going to try my best to finish it. With a solid few dozen pages left, I started to hit the wall. However, a beautiful revelation appeared. The last section of the book is just the text of the interviews that Bobby conducted for the book, so I'll come back to those later on. But for now, I've completed the main text of the book. Now it's time to get a solid 8 hours of shut-eye and get my mind right for the big test, the final mix.
All right, y'all, it's 11 a.m. on the dot. You can't see that, but I can see it. Let's do a mix.
So the big day is here. It's time to do the final mix. Again, I started from drums, but this time they came together a lot quicker. I pulled some tips from Eric Valentine's videos. He's known for his amazing drum sounds, so if there's anyone that I want to emulate, it'll be him. Once I was happy with the drum mix, I realized it hadn't even been a full hour. Things were coming together so much more quickly this time around. I started mixing in the other instruments much sooner, applying lots more processing on the entire instrument groups this time around. Bobby's book went over a few different methods for getting your balances dialed in, so I pulled from that to get everything balanced really quickly. And once I was happy with the overall levels of the mix, I made reverb and delay auxes and started sending signals to them. After a quick car test to be safe, I was actually feeling great about this mix. So I came back up to the studio, used the last hour to do something I didn't do on the first mix, which is creating automation for my effects. And then after another listen through, I was happy with where things stood, and it's time to hit export for the final time.
All right, I think we did it. This was a very long week, and I learned a ton, but I'm gonna export this bad boy.
I finally did it. I learned to mix, hopefully.
So before we move on to listening to the two mixes, which we're gonna do next, I wanna just go over a couple lessons that I learned over the week. First up, mixing is not that serious. Like, I've been kind of scared to put myself out there and do mixes because I've been a little bit insecure, and I've always thought about mixing as like, oh, she's a mix engineer. Oh, they're a mix engineer. Oh, he's the mixer. I'm just producing, but I can't do that. And if you know what makes a song sound good and you have opinions about mixes, then you kind of are part of the way there. So I've been producing long enough to understand what makes a good mix, and learning the process of how to get there is kind of the gap that I'm learning how to bridge. So if you've been intimidated by mixing or just are kind of scared to do it, I encourage you to just dive in head first, because worst case scenario, you're just gonna make a bad mix, which there's thousands of bad mixes out there every single day. So really nothing to be scared of.
The second big takeaway is that repetition is important. So I only did 2 mixes for this challenge, but I feel like I learned so much by doing the first one that when I did the second one, I already had some solid ideas of what I wanted to do better the second time around. Obviously, all the learning I did, all the resources were amazing, and I learned a ton from listening to and watching those things and reading that book. But at the end of the day, just doing that first mix was an amazing lesson on its own. And lastly, I do want to just highlight that there is an amazing wealth of knowledge out there online that you can use to learn how to mix. Austin's course was super duper helpful, and I'm really excited to dive into the rest of it. So if you want to check that out, I put down in the description a link to that. Again, nothing in this video is sponsored. Also, Bobby's book was super helpful and it was a great read. It had awesome examples, it had graphs and charts and things like that. So if you're a reader, then I'm gonna put a link to that as well. You can get it on Kindle, you can get it on paperback. I thoroughly enjoyed that book and I had a great time reading it and I learned so much from it, and I think you will too. So anyway, let's go ahead and listen to the mixes.
Big difference.
I'm so much happier with the vocal EQ just off rip. I do like the guitar sounds on mix one a little bit, honestly. Mix 1, the snare is so wet, just reverb. I don't know why I did that.
That's really good.
All right, so there it is. There's the answer to the question, how much better can you get at mixing in 1 week? That much better. Now it's up to you. Let me know in the comments how much better you think the second mix was. Maybe you preferred the first mix. Maybe there's something you liked about mix 1 that was lost in mix 2. I don't know. I want you to tell me what I can do better, so next time my next mix is even better than these ones. Again, I want to give a big thank you to Charlie for letting me mix his band's song. I'm going to put links to all their stuff in the description as well. And if you like this video, again, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you leave a comment, make sure you subscribe, do all that stuff because it helps out the channel more than you could even know. And I'll see you next time.